Cestodes.
Assalamu alaikum, Achu. I hope all of you are good. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
That's good. तो अब तक आप लोगों ने बिफोर आई स्टार्ट विद द सिस्टोड्स आप लोगों ने जितना पढ़ा है वो आपको याद हो गया मींस के कुछ समझ आ गई है हेलो
यस मैम
सो रहे हो यार अभी तक तुम लोग 9:30 हो चुके हैं Okay, let's start with the cestodes. Basically, they are platyhelminths, which means flat worms, and they are further divided as all the flatworms are further divided into two different types. One is cestoda or tapeworms. The other one is trematodes. So first of all, we will start discussing cestodes. The general features of cestodes are that they are one of the classes of helminths, and there's no body cavities, and there's no body cavity in them. So that's why they're flat. बिल्कुल चिपके हुए होते हैं. And then these are spongy segmented features of their body that they are not having any kind of cavity, so they don't have any organs in it. And those segments are the main one that can go on with the other life activities. They absorb their nutrients from their surfaces or the skin. Then they are hermaphrodites. There is no two separate sexes, and they lay eggs by unisexual material. They have a scolex as a head, and the suckers on the head are also present, and they are characterized by these cestodes. And some of the cestodes also have hooks along with the suckers. These suckers are the main power of attachment or the part of the attachment in the gut of humans. Morphologically, they are mainly have two parts. One is the rounded head that I told you before, scolex, and a flat body of multiple segments called protoglottids. And the scolex has a specialized means of attaching to the intestinal wall, namely suckers and hooks, and sucking grooves. So it depends upon the worm which we are talking about, which type of the cestodes we are talking about. They have some differential things, or the mainly the part on the scolex, that is their head. Like some suckers will be present in almost everyone. Then hooks will be present in some, and the sucking grooves will be present in some. The worm grows by adding new protoglottids from its germinal center next to the scolex. The oldest protoglottid at the distal end are gravid and produce many eggs, which are excreted into the feces and then transmitted to the various intermediate hosts, such as cattle, pigs, and fish. So the cestodes, the secondary host or the intermediate host is cattle, pigs, or fish. This is a brief summarization of these cestodes. So you should know, write it down if you have your books with you or any page. Tinea sorium is a pork worm. Tinea saginata is a beef tapeworm. Diphalobothrium latum is a fish tapeworm. Haemophilus nana is a draft tapeworm. And Haemophilus diminuta is a rat tapeworm. And the Echinococcus granulosus is a dog tapeworm. All these now names are given because of the intermediate host, which are different for all of these are different. Like Tinea solium occurs in humans and pork or the pigs. The Tinea saginata occurs in the humans and the beef. The beef means cattle. And the Diphalobothrium occurs in the humans and the fish. And the nana is a dwarf because it's the smallest tapeworm in all of them. And the diminuta is in the rats. And the Echinococcus usually occurs in the dogs as a secondary intermediate host. So that's why they've given these names. The most important, medically important cestodes in humans are Tinea solium saginata, Diphalobothrium, and the Echinococcus granulosus. Tinea are the most two important human pathogens in the genus, that is Tinea solium and saginata. Solium is a pork tapeworm, while the saginata is a beef tapeworm. Tinea solium, the most important properties of the Tinea solium are that can be identified by its scolex. which has 4 suckers and a circle of hooks, and by its gravid proglottets, which have 5-10 primary uterine branches. Mature worm measures 2 to 3 meters in the length, and they consist of 8 to 1,000 segments. In the main cycle, what happens is that the human ingests the raw or undercooked pork meat. Alhamdulillah, we don't eat it, so we usually don't have, Muslims don't have this this one, Saginita infection. Otherwise, it is taken up by the human through the undercooked pork containing cysticercae. And then in this intestine, these cysticercae mature into adults and attach to the wall by their scolex or the head, which has sucking grooves. Adult worms produces the protoglottants, which become gravid, and they mature and release the eggs and detach from the intestine as a tapeworm. After that, these eggs are detached protoglottants are passed into the host feces, which are taken up by the humans or the pigs as an autoinfection, and then the eggs develops into the oncosphere, which penetrates the intestinal wall. Now, these can also become human cysticercosis if they get fixed into the human muscle tissue, and they are porcine cysticercosis if they are settled down into the pork muscle tissue or the pig muscle tissue. The oncospheres circulate to the muscles and other organs and develop into cysticercae. Now, these cysticercae in the humans they get calcified, but in the pigs they get calcified in the muscle tissue. And when you eat the uncooked or the undercooked pork, then you get again the infection. New human will get the infection, and then the same cycle will be repeated. If you can see, these are the proglottets of solium, and this is the saginita. In solium, this said you will have 10 to 12 these uterine branches, while in the saginita, it's more than 100. And this is the egg of the saginita. Now here you can see that this egg, this one, is having rays-like branches over outside the border. And that's why it's called saginita. If you see sun-like appearance, छोटे बच्चों की तरह जब हम sun बनाते हैं तो हम उसके साइड पे rays बनाते हैं, yellow circle and the rays. So it's somehow somewhat like same picture, that in the center is the main embryonic part, and the outside these are the hooks, which will develop further into get mature. So these are the small hook-like structures which becomes uterine branches later when they get developed. That's why it's called saginata. All right, can you see the saginata? This is oosphere, and this is the corona radiata. These are the radiations coming outside the sun. That's why it's called saginata. All right, this is the same cycle if you see again. These are the 4 sucking grooves or suckers of the saginata. And then this is how it comes in the cycle. Life cycle, humans are infected by eating the raw or undercooked pork containing the larvae called cysticercae. In the small intestine, the larvae attach to the gut wall and take about 3 months to grow into an adult worm. The gravid terminal proglottets containing many eggs detached daily are passed into the feces and are accidentally eaten by the pigs. Cycle in the pigs usually occurs when the 6-hooked embryo emerges from each egg into the pig's intestine. The embryo burrow into the blood vessel and are carried to the skeletal muscle, where in 7 to 9 weeks they develop into the bladder worm called Cysticercus cellulosae. They develop into the cysticercae in the muscle, where they remain until eaten by the humans. The humans are the definitive hosts, and pigs are cattle are the intermediate hosts. Cysticercosis is a disease caused by the larval stage, and in the cysticercosis, a more dangerous sequence occurs when a person ingests the worm eggs, and in the food or water, they can be contaminated with the human feces. The egg hatch into the small intestine, and onchocercosis burrow through the wall into a blood vessel. They can disseminate to the many organs especially the eyes and brain, and they insist to form cysticerci. In the pathogenesis, the adult worm attached to the intestinal wall causes little damage. Cysticerci, on the other hand, are the main large and especially in the brain, where they can manifest a space occupying lesion. Anything which grows abdomen in your body and it is occupying any space in your inside the meninges in the brain or inside your liver or in spleen, that will affect, excuse me, that will affect your basically the main organ by putting pressure on it. So the main physiological function of that particular organ is manifested by the space occupying lesion. Living cysticerci do not cause inflammation, but when they die, they can release substance that provoke an inflammatory response. Usually, the cysticerci calcify, as I told you before. The clinical findings: most patients with the adult tapeworm are asymptomatic. Anorexia and diarrhea may occur, and may also notice that the proglottids are present in the stools. Cysticercosis in the brain causes headache, seizures, and vomiting, while the cysticercosis in the eyes can appear as uveitis or rhinitis, or the larva can be visualized floating in the vitreous humor. Subcutaneous nodules containing cysticerci are commonly occurring as well. How you will diagnose tinea solium? Because by finding a gravid proglottid having 5 to 10 primary uterine branches, and in contrast, the saginata will be having 15 to 20 uterines, while in the solium it will 5 to 10. Eggs are found in the stools less often than the proglottids. Diagnosis of the cysticercosis depends on the demonstrating the presence of the cyst in tissue, usually by surgical removal or CT scan. On CT scan, you can see that cyst. The serological testing is ELISA that detect the antibodies against solium, and but they may be negative because in neurocysticercosis you are unable to see the findings. How we treat? We treat with them with the praziquantel, and the treatment of the cysticercosis is either praziquantel or albendazole, if not available, the praziquantel. But the surgical excision may be necessary in the muscle tissue or the brain. Prevention of the teniasis is involving cooking pork adequately and disposing of the water properly so that the pigs cannot ingest human feces. Prevention of the cysticercosis consists of the treatment of the patients to prevent autoimmune plus observation of the proper hygiene, including hand washing and prevent contamination of the food with the eggs. Tinea saginata. This is the next one. Tinea saginata causes teniasis. Tinea saginata larvae do not cause cysticercosis. The tinea saginata has a scolex with 4 suckers as like solium, but in contrast, there is no hooks, while in the solium, the hooks are present. In the gravid plotted, they have 15 to 25 primary uterine branches. In contrast to proglottids, they each have 5 to 10 branches. The eggs are morphologically indistinguishable for both those of tinea solium. So it is also having an internal embryotic and outside the reticular presentation, as I told you. So these are the two different main differences that you should know if someone asks you how you differentiate between tinea saginata and solium. One is the presence of hooklets in the solium and not in the saginata, while the gravid platelets, they have 15 to 25 primary uterine branches inside the saginata, while there are 5 to 10 in the solium. All right, humans are infected by the eating raw or undercooked beef. Now here the cycle is same, only the pork is replaced by the cattle. In the small intestine, the larva attached to the gut wall and takes about 3 months to grow into the adult form, same like before. Humans are the definitive host and the cattle are the intermediate host, unlikely solium tinea saginata does not cause cysticercosis. So the next two differences are, number one, that they do not produce cysticercosis, while the solium produces cysticercosis. The gravid proglotter detached are passed in the feces and are eaten by the cattle. Then the embryo emerges from the egg in the cow's intestine, burrow into the whole blood vessel, and carried to the striated muscles where it, in 10 to 12 weeks, develop into the bladder worm known as cysticercosis bovis. In the muscle, they develop into cysticerci. The cycle is completed when the cysticerci are ingested by the humans. Little damage results from the presence of the adult form in the small intestine. The epidemiology of the tenacious caused by the tinea saginata is related to the excess of the cattle to human feces and to the consumption of the raw or undercooked beef. The clinical findings are the most patients are with adults tapeworm are asymptomatic, but the malaise and the mild cramp can occur. In some proglottids, appear in the stools and may even protrude from the penis. How we will diagnose? Same, that egg may be found or the gravid proglottids will be present, but they will be having 15 to 20 uterine branches, while the solium, they have 5 to 10 branches. Treatment is same, praziquantel, and the prevention is same. You should cook the beef formally and properly, like we are doing as overcooked food, and disposing of the waste material properly out so that the cattle cannot consume the human feces. Now I want to ask you a question so that I should know that whether you are present or not and you are aware or not, because I thought you are all people are sleeping. So tell me, what are the major differences between the solium and saginata? Any two differences? I will give you 5 minutes for this, and I'm watching in your answers in the chat box. If you want to tell me live, you can tell me, Amna.
मैम सोलियम के बुक्स नहीं होते लेकिन जो हमारे पास है उसके पास बुक्स होते हैं और दूसरी बात वो पिग से हमारे पास आता है और वो दूसरा बीफ से होता है.
Okay. And anyone? Any other some two differences? But a solium have the hooks. The saginata don't have. Solium is transmitted through the pigs, while saginata is transmitted through the kettles. और कुछ और भी बताइए मैंने दो.
ब्रांचेस इनकी ब्रांचेस भी एक की होती हैं 5 to 10 और दूसरे की होती हैं around 15 to 20.
Yeah, 15 to 25. Very good. And अब तीन differences हो गए हमारे. Anything else? What are the diseases caused by them?
Solium जो है वो हमारा cirrhosis कराता है.
Solium causes the cysticercosis, while the saginata causes tenacious. Okay. बस वही दो चार बच्चे जिन्होंने जवाब देना. बेटा आप लोगों की अटेंडेंस मार्क नहीं होती अगर आप क्वेश्चन आंसर ना करें बीच में. So you have to reply back. बस अपनी अटेंडेंस लगाई जा रहे हो. इसका फायदा नहीं है if you are not replying me. Anam, Rida, Mariam, hurry up, tell me or write in the chat box. What are the
I just told you.
What?
मैम मैंने बताया तो था वो cysticercosis का.
Okay. Anyone else? We have so many students here, but they are not saying anything. Abdullah, are you there? Faika, Faizan, Zain. Oh, everyone is sleeping, I guess. Is it true? Are you people sleeping out there? इस वीक में आपका पैरासाइटोलॉजी खत्म हो जाने वाला है. So आपको साथ साथ चलना पड़ेगा बेटा because of shortage of time and your date sheet is already here. खैर अभी आपका ने आज रीड आउट करने हैं जो भी हम टॉपिक्स कर रहे हैं and then I will ask you again in the next story is Cephalobothrium datum. Cephalobothrium datum is the fish tapeworm and it causes cephalobothriosis. Two elongated sucking grooves. पिछलों में दोनों में चार थे, इसमें दो हैं. The proglottids are wider than they are long, and the gravid uterus is in the form of a rosette. Yeah, you cannot count the uterus, but because and the proglottids because they are in the form of roselet like features होते हैं उसकी. अभी आपको दिखाती हूँ. Eggs are oval and they have a lid-like opening, which is called operculum at one end. The Cephalopotrium luteum is the longest of the tapeworms, measuring up to 13 meters. And जो अगला पढ़ेंगे, that will be the shortest. इसलिए इसको जो है वो dwarf tapeworm भी कहते हैं. So the most longest tapeworm is the Cephalopotrium luteum, and it is 13 meters long. Humans are infected by ingesting the raw or undercooked fish containing larvae called plerocercoid or the sparangum larvae. And in the small intestine, the larvae attach to the adult worm, the gut wall, and within 2 to 4 weeks develop into the nut worm that is 13 meters, along with the 3,000 to 4,000 segments. Gravid proglottids release the fertilized eggs through a genital pore, and the eggs are then passed into the stools. So these are the gravid proglottids which release the fertilized eggs and pass through the genital pore, and eggs are passed into the stools. The immature eggs must be deposited in the water, fresh water, to get the life cycle continued. Now this is important. The eggs should get deposited in the fresh water. There they will be corocidia emerge from the eggs and are eaten by the copypods. And these copypods are the first intermediate host, and these copypods differentiated and form procercoid larvae in the body cavity. Then the copypods is eaten by the freshwater fish. The larvae differentiate into the precercoid in the muscle of the fish, second intermediate host. And the cycle is completed when the raw undercooked fish is eaten by the humans. If you see, this is the main cycle of this. When the humans eat uncooked raw fish, then they get involved into these eggs become these cercoids get mature into the gut, and they becomes adult with the 10 meters length, and then there they release the immature eggs, which are released into the fresh water. Once they reach the fresh water, the egg embryonate in the water, and then these are taken up by the crustaceans, or copypods. These copypods make them mature, and then the procercoid larva into the body cavity of these crustaceans. These crustaceans are taken up by the fishes. Then inside the fish, the procercoid larva released from the crustaceans and develop into the plerocercoid larva. These plerocercoid larvae are taken up, they get involved into the fish muscle tissue, and then that is taken up by the humans, and the cycle continues. So you should know that there is a primary host, and then there is a secondary host, that is fish, before coming to the humans. This is the egg of Cephalopotrium luteum. They have a broader border outside. They are pale and yellow and ovarian shape, measuring about 70 to 45 millimeter, and has an operculum or the lid. There is an operculum or the lid, and contains a mass of granulated yolk cells surrounding an undeveloped ovum, and a small projection is seen at the non-operculated end of the egg. There is a small projection over here, but there is a proper operculated head of the egg. Basically, the causes, what the causes is, the clinical finding is that it causes the megaloblastic anemia and occurs as a result of vitamin B12 deficiency due to uptake of vitamin B12 from by the tapeworm. So fatigue, diarrhea, weakness, weight loss, obstruction of the bowel, neurological deficits, these all are the clinical presentations of the vitamin B12 deficiency caused by the tapeworm infection. Diagnosis depends on the finding the typical eggs, that is oval, yellow, brown eggs with an operculum at the one end in the stool, occasionally detecting mature segments in the feces, and there's no serological test for this organism. Treatment of the choice is presequential, and prevention is involving please cook your food properly and then eat. Now, if you see, these are the solium with hooklets. These are the hooklets, and these are the solium suckers. These are the 10 to 15, 5 to 10 uterine branches of the pregnant proglottid segment. Then this is the saginata, no hooklets, only the 4 suckers are present, and a long list of 25 up to 25 uterine segments are there. This is the tapeworm, and this is also, this is, I guess, the kind of coccus renosus that you will done tomorrow, inshallah, you will do tomorrow with Dr. Rubina. And this has two, this is the cephalopothrium, which has two hooks. The last one is Haemophilus nana. H. nana is basically a dwarf tapeworm because it's very small, 3 to 5 centimeter long only, and is the most frequently found tapeworm in the US. It is different from the other tapeworms because its eggs are directly infectious for the humans, and ingested eggs can develop into adult worms without any intermediate host. That's why it's dangerous and frequently found. This is the egg of H. nana. These are small worms, and this is how it looks. Within the duodenum, the egg hatch and differentiate into cysticercoid larvae and then into the adult worms. The gravid proglottids detach, disintegrate, and release the fertilized eggs. If you see, this is the cycle. Ingestion of the egg by the humans, the egg become larvae and then adult worms, and then disintegrated of the proglottids again into the eggs. And these eggs are released into the feces and taken up again by the intermediate host environment, humans. The egg either passes into the stool or can reinfect the small intestine, so auto-infection can happen. In contrast to the infection of other tapeworms, where only one adult worm is present, many H. nana worms can be present, sometimes about 100, are found in the same way and same style in the same human. Infection causes little damage and most patients are asymptomatic. The organism is found worldwide, commonly in the tropics. In the USA, it is most prevalent in the southern states, usually in children. Diagnosis based on the eggs in the stool and characteristic features of 8 to 9 polar pigments and 6 hooked larvae outside the shell. Treatment is presequential, as I told you before. The prevention consists of good personal hygiene and avoidance of the fecal contamination of the food and water. That's all for the today, but I really want to discuss that आप लोगों ने इस तरह से लिखना चार्ट बनाना है अपना कि एक साइड पे आपने लिखना है ऑर्गेनिज्म, देन आपने लिखना है उसका जो भी इंटरमीडिएट होस्ट है if it is there, then if there is any vector वो, and then the disease caused by it, then life cycle, and then the screening or the diagnosis and the treatment. ये एक पेज फॉर्मेट पे आप सारे पैरासाइट्स का बना लो, जैसे स्टोर्स का इकट्ठा बना लो, बाकी एलिमेंट्स का राउंड वर्म्स हम करेंगे उसका अलग, फ्लैट वर्म्स का अलग. अब ये जो 4 सिस्टोर्स हैं ये आज हमने किए हैं, ये चारों एक ही फॉर्मेट पे होने चाहिए, तो आपको पता हो कि किसमें फिश है, किसमें इन्वॉल्व है, किसमें रैट इन्वॉल्व है, किसमें आपके जो सिस्टिसरकॉइड्स है वो इन्वॉल्व है, किसके अंदर कैटल और या पिग इन्वॉल्व. इसी तरह आपको पता हो कि कौन से ऐसे हैं जो कि सिस्टिसरकोसिस करते हैं, कौन से टीनेसिस करते हैं, कौन सा विटामिन B12 डिफिशिएंसी करेंगे. सेम इसी तरह आपको पता हो कि जो है वो कौन से हैं जो सिर्फ सिंपल इन्फ्लेमेटरी इन्फेक्ट देते हैं, अदरवाइज दे डोंट बॉदर द ह्यूमंस. इसी तरह आपने इनकी ट्रीटमेंट और क्लिनिकल फीचर्स भी लिखने और लाइफ साइकिल की इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ें बना लो, जिस तरह मैंने ये बनाया है. दिस इज ईजी वे, इस तरह आप भी बना लें. यूजली जरूरी नहीं है कि आप प्रॉपर वो ह्यूमन और एनिमल्स और वो सब वाला बनाएं, एक्सेप्ट दैट ऑफ प्लाज्मोडियम, बिकॉज अगर उसमें आप बना लें तो आपकी ज़िंदगी आसान हो जाती है एक्स एरिथ्रोसाइटिक एंड एरिथ्रोसाइटिक साइकिल को डिफरेंशिएट करने के लिए, बिकॉज पैरासाइट प्लाज्मोडियम इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट and nobody will nobody will give you any chance if you don't know that about plasmodium infection and the 4 different types of malaria. What are the primary, what is secondary, what is the tertiary, and what is the chronic, what is malignant malaria? Anyone can tell me? If you tell me live, it's good, but if you don't want to talk or let me listen your voice, you can type in the chat box. What is the malignant malaria? कहाँ चले गए सारे बच्चे? This is very serious. एक आप लोग कैमरा ऑन नहीं करते हैं, दूसरा आप लोग जो बोलते भी नहीं है. मारवाड़, you tell me if you are there. All right, Zainab, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me. What
Ma'am,
I asked?
आप कौन सी टर्म बोल रही हैं? कौन सा मलेरिया?
Malignant malaria. Yes. What is malignant malaria?
Malignant malaria.
मैम ये हमारे पास क्लास
जी आपकी आवाज कट।
फैल्सीफॉर्म से होता है, फैल्सीपैरम से होता है और
वेरी गुड। malignant क्यों कहते हैं उसे? falciparum से तो
और
होता है।
मैम ये आरबीसीज बर्स्ट करता है जिसकी वजह से
Because beta it is the most severe form of malaria.
मैम ये हमारे पास एनीमिया करता है।
क्या करता है?
एनीमिया कॉज करता है क्योंकि उसका लाइफ साइकिल
एनीमिया भी
आरबीसी
कॉज करेगा,
बर्स्ट
लेकिन वो
करता है।
लॉन्ग टर्म जब चलेगा करेगा ना। शॉर्ट टर्म में क्या करता है? इमीडिएटली यानी आफ्टर मैनिफेस्टेशन रीनल फेलियर करेगा। एक्यूट रीनल फेलियर करेगा। व्हाट इज ब्लैक वाटर फीवर?
मैम हीमोग्लोबिन यूरिया करेगा जिसकी वजह से it will cause
वेरी
the renal.
वेरी गुड। ब्लैक यूरिन, जब डार्क कलर यूरिन, कोला कलर यूरिन आना शुरू हो जाते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ एक्सेसिव ब्रेकडाउन ऑफ आरबीसीज, तो फिर उसको हम कहते हैं ब्लैक वाटर फीवर। और ये ब्लैक वाटर फीवर क्योंकि रीनल टिश्यू भी डैमेज कैसे होता है, उसमें ये एक्यूट रीनल फेलियर होता है एट दैट टाइम ऑफ द मलेरिया, इसलिए इसको मैलिग्नेंट मलेरिया कहते हैं। और बाकी जो 3 टाइप्स हैं उनको बिनाइन, बिकॉज दे आर लेस सिवियर। उसके अलावा आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि व्हाट इज टर्शरी एंड व्हाट इज कॉटन मलेरिया। तो ये भी आपको पता चाहिए कि एवरी 3 डेज के बाद जो मलेरिया 4th डे पे होता है तो हम उसको क्वार्टरली कहते हैं, और अगर 2 डेज के बाद 3rd डे पे हो तो उसको हम टर्शरी मलेरिया कहते हैं। ठीक है, तो अब आपको ये सारी डिफरेंट टर्म्स हैं, वाईवे में बहुत पूछती हैं एमसीक्यूज में, सो यू शुड नो। मलेरिया में तो कोई माफी नहीं, एंटमीबा में कोई माफी नहीं, मलेरिया में कोई माफी नहीं, एक एक चीज आपको उसकी बेटा आनी चाहिए। बाकी ये सारे जो है मैंने जिस तरह बताया कि आप चार्ट बना लें और उसमें आप लिखिए। इफ आई विल गेट टाइम आई विल मेक इट फॉर यू एंड आई विल शेयर इन द ग्रुप, बट डोंट प्लीज डोंट रिलाई ऑन मी ओनली। आप लोग खुद भी बनाएं चार्ट एंड देन जस्ट मैं जब शेयर करूंगी तो आप उसको रिकनेक्ट करके उसके अंदर करेक्शंस कर लीजिएगा अगर आपका डेफिशिएंट हुआ तो। हो सकता है आपने मेरे से भी ज्यादा अच्छा बनाया हो। ऑलराइट, सो आई विल टेक ऑफ। अभी आप लोग यही बुक देखो, मैं आपको 10-15 मिनट पहले इसलिए छोड़ती हूँ, आप यही टॉपिक अभी बैठ के पढ़ लो अपनी बुक से। ऑलराइट, सो दैट आपका अभी फ्रेश नॉलेज है, वो आपको याद हो जाएगा, वो रजिस्टर हो जाए आपके माइंड में। अभी ही ये चार्ट बना लें आप एंड प्लीज शेयर इट इन द व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप। जो भी बनाएगा अच्छा सा उसको एक इनाम मिलेगा, ओके, अ गिफ्ट फ्रॉम मी। लेकिन आपने उसका चार्ट बनाना है एंड देन यू विल द बेस्ट चार्ट व्हिच विल बी देयर आई विल गिव यू अ गिफ्ट। ऑलराइट, लेट्स सी कि वो कौन करता। बनाओगे कि नहीं? इंतजार करूं मैं कि नहीं? हेलो, सोई भी कॉम उठ जाओ प्लीज। ज़ैनब, मरियम,
Yes, ma'am.
बेटा आप लोगों ने तो जरूर बनाना है
Okay.
क्योंकि आपका मुझे नाम याद हो गया। और अब्दुल्ला, वेयर आर यू? मैंने बुलाया एंड ही इज नॉट देयर, दैट मींस दैट ही इज नॉट प्रेजेंट ओवर देयर, राइट? एंड वेयर इज आवर सीआर?
Yes, ma'am.
आर यू लिसनिंग?
Yeah.
So this is an interactive kind of study. It should be an interactive lecture as in live we are doing. तुम लोग बिल्कुल सोए पड़े तो ये चुप होते हो, ये पता नहीं क्या कर रहे होते हो, आई डोंट नो। सो प्लीज आपसे जब मैं पूछती हूँ तो आप रिप्लाई किया करो, ओके? और ये चार्ट बना के ना, जिस तरह मैंने बताया सिस्टोड्स का, ये मुझे चाहिए 1-2 दिन के अंदर, मेरे नेक्स्ट लेक्चर से पहले। अभी बैठ के बना लो, इसलिए आई एम लीविंग यू 15 मिनट बिफोर, बल्कि 20 मिनट्स ही है ऑलमोस्ट। तो 15 मिनट बिफोर अभी आप बना लें, अभी आपको पता चल जाएगा क्या क्या फीचर्स थे हमारे और किसमें कौन सा फीचर प्रेजेंट था, ओके? सो आई विल वेट फॉर योर दिस कंपैरेटिव चार्ट or table in which you will compare all these 4 types of cystodes. ये आपका एक पेपर तैयार हो जाएगा, इसको छोटी चिट में बना के हम अपनी बुक में लगा देंगे। ऑलराइट, ओके बच्चों, अल्लाह हाफिज फॉर टुडे एंड आई विल बी वेटिंग फॉर योर चार्ट टुमारो। अल्लाह हाफिज।